I agree with that. Yeah. And that kind of leads me to my next question. Like, well, you kind of, answered that with the fundamental training. And, that's basically what I did. I was a correctional officer first. I was at the Cook County Jail for 4 years. And now I'm a Chicago police officer. I've been doing that for a little over 8 years. And, when I got into corrections, I was like, man, I need to learn how to defend myself. And basically, like, went on Google and, like, what's the best martial art, and, like, Muay Thai is great, wrestling's great, all these things. But jiu-jitsu really seemed to click, and just the, the fundamentals of jiu-jitsu and the way you guys approach it and how it's, more holds and technique instead of striking, which, kind of relates perfectly for law enforcement, where you can, control another human being without, causing a lot of damage.
Exactly.
Nothing against these other martial arts, they're great, but it's, for law enforcement, I always thought that was kind of like, you guys kind of had the best aspects of everything, for a law enforcement officer to train and, to keep the subject safe and to keep themselves safe at the same time.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
Also, like, it gives you, like, I feel like because you have, like, so much control. When you do jiu-jitsu, you know this.
Yes.
You have someone on the side control, and you can completely dominate the person in a way the person on the mouth position, the person cannot move.
Yeah.
It's so much power in your hands, really. Like, I feel like for the, for the law enforcement, you can really, like, benefit from, like, this, like a toughness that jiu-jitsu brings you. Man, I'm like, if the person come at me, if I'm on the floor, I know what to do. Like, you have, like, at least, like, a little more,
like a sense of being in that dangerous spot. Yeah.
Exactly.
Right.
Because you're comfortable in jiu-jitsu, you're comfortable being uncomfortable.
Right. No,
exactly. So this is, like, exactly what your work, it's like your daily work, like, asks for you, right? Like, you have to be uncomfortable. Like, you're there chasing someone, you know, like, you don't know if someone is, like, chasing you as well.
Right.
So it's, in jiu-jitsu is really about this. It's about, like, it just, you don't know what's the next move.
Yeah, and I agree. Like, because you come in and they talk about, like, being a spazzy white belt. And really what that is like, your adrenaline and you're nervous and because you don't know how to be in these situations.
Exactly.
And that happens to police officers just as well as anybody else. If you're not prepared for that situation, or if this isn't something you do all the time, which is grapple with another human being that actually puts you in a dangerous position.
Exactly.
You're not just going to know what to do on the street and figure it out.
And you said something very, very interesting, JT, because that's exactly the way I felt. Like, once you're in that situation and you have, like, the person under control and you feel like the person doesn't know, like,
right.
Like, you're like, okay. Call the officers.
Yeah, you're like, I'm confident, I've got this. Exactly.
And I had this feeling on my MMA match.
Yeah.
Because, like, the girl was, like, a kind of, like, a more of the striking. And I feel like you can relate a little bit, maybe you can relate a little bit with your life. Like, you're saving, like, you're fighting for your life.
Sure.
Because in some way it is, if you have, like, very crazy punch or something, like, kick on the head, it can be it.
Yeah, elbows, right? Everything else, you can get seriously injured. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's the last thing you want to happen, right?
Sure.
So it's like pretty much you're fighting for your life. So, but once you have, like, the person under control, once I closed the distance and I was close to the person, like, there, and I had, like, just, okay, that's it. I was, like, there, I was able to take the person down. I was like, okay.
You felt that control right away, yeah.
Exactly.
Right.
I was like, man, I'm not going to, like, you're not going to leave here.
Right.
And that was it.
Yeah.
Like, she was, like, in the mount for, like,
Yeah, you were able to take her down.
Exactly.
And,
so imagine transferring this to, like, a police situation.
Yeah.
The person's, like, trying to come crazy, like,
striking,
you just, like,
exactly.
You're able to take the person down in a way. You're not going to hurt the person. You're just going to put the person down.
And control them.
Control.
Right.
That's it.
And it's perfect for law enforcement. And it still goes back to fundamental jiu-jitsu, which is you close the distance, avoid as many strikes as you can, get the takedown and control on the ground. And that relates perfectly for law enforcement because that's usually exactly what we do. And like you talked about, like, once you train jiu-jitsu for a long time, when you kind of grapple with somebody, you kind of know right away, like, oh, okay, I got this, and you know you can kind
Exactly.
of hang out and mount for a while. You know you're either stronger or physically a little better than them, and so I know that feeling, and I know the opposite side too when somebody is much better and on a much higher level.
Exactly. And that's
yes.
like the situation where like now you have the calm, like you're more calm because you're like, man, I had someone like in a competition, like I don't know, like very like it was a hard situation, but I was able to like I'm here.
Right, exactly, right. You survive, you learn how to breathe,
Yeah.
you learn how to stay calm. And all these kind of things you can work out on the mats in a safe environment if you're a law enforcement officer, instead of, learning on the streets the hard way, where it's, fight or flight,
Exactly.
this panic, you can, I've learned these things on the mats, how to stay calm, how to breathe. I could start reading people a little better on their, body movement and mechanics, and, start thinking a couple steps ahead on, do I want to arm drag this guy, and maybe,
Exactly.
and you can start, using these things. But if you don't have the tools of jiu-jitsu on the street, you're left with very minimal tools, and usually it's ends up raising the use of force.
Yes.
Because you don't
and
have
the level
any
of
other
the
options.
stress on your work,
Right.
because you don't know, so you're always like stressed out. So at least you have a little more. Okay,
Yeah.
so
It definitely lends. Nothing's perfect in this world, and nothing's 100%. But I couldn't imagine patrolling the streets every day, having to deal with stuff without having a little jiu-jitsu in my back pocket.
something
And
like in a
a
background,
lot more
yes.
confidence, and it's helped me tremendously night and day. And I see other officers coming in, they're taking fundamental jiu-jitsu, they're taking our Friday night law enforcement class, and I see the changes in them too. Physically, mentally, they all kind of really enjoy it, they get it right away. And it's been a really good program, and it's been I think a couple months now, and it's been really enjoyable.
And we hope like more people can understand.
Yeah.
That's why we want to bring like this, like more people to benefit from
Absolutely.
like this. I feel like the same way. Like whenever I start talking about jiu-jitsu, it's like, okay, guys, we have some time,
Yeah.
because that will be a long conversation.
Exactly. I mean, there's so much we can cover and talk about,
Exactly.
and like we try and keep it at least with the man of the law, a little more law enforcement related, and because we could talk jiu-jitsu
Oh yeah.
all day.
So good.
But for the law enforcement, like it clicked with me right away. I was like, this, we need to be training this, and I need to be training this. Unfortunately, departments, big departments, like the one that I work for, it's just, implementing that into their, new use of force policy. That's, kind of a big endeavor.